move the whiteboard a little bit. So that I can see. Poor Preston, still in. Poor Preston, he's in Oklahoma. It sounds like it's a bad thing to be in Oklahoma. It's a fine thing to be in Oklahoma. Okay, so how did you do on the test? Did you do it? Did you check it? Did you have anything that you did wrong and you don't know why it was wrong? These are all answers that I love. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going around the table. we're going to go around twice. I am putting a verb on the board and you're going to tell me what it means. You ready? Will you go first? You feel like you want to go first? Okay, I'm outing you. Okay, how about, can you see the board? Mm-hmm. Okay. Vocamus. What does vocamus mean?
We call.
We call. John, you get rogabont.
They were asking.
They were asking. Kaden, you get navigabas.
You are sailing.
You're really close. When are you doing it? So if this was, they were asking, you were sailing. So when we have the bomba spot, we use was or were. Other than that, perfect. Ava, how about cantant?
They sing.
They sing. We're gonna go around one more time. Because I think we got it. Look, labora bit.
He, she, it will work.
Yes. Let's do similar names. John. Ambulatus.
Y'all are walking.
Y'all are walking. Caden, portabis.
You will carry.
Yes, and Ava, but.
They will rule.
Yes, okay, beautiful, beautiful. So I apologize if you just really didn't need the extra week of practice, but it sounds like everybody is on the same page. Well done, okay? Now, do not stop reviewing this when we move into the next thing. So all the words that we've learned, keep going through them every week. Eventually, you won't need to do them every day. You probably, maybe at this point, you don't need to do them every day. When I'm doing memory work, I told you I have cards, and then I will go through just a section of them when I get a big stack. And if I miss one, I put it back on the top. And then I make sure that I do it again the next day. And if I get it right, I do it on the bottom, and I just work my way through. Keep practicing. Bo bis bit, bimus bitus bunt, bom bas bot, bom spot spot. But today we're going to take a look at nouns. We've looked at verbs. Chapter 4 is nouns. Now, I also told you last week that I feel like if we take the time to go over every single answer to the exercises, I will not have time to explain the new idea to you. So what I did is I scanned the answers, and I am emailing them to your parents. I will send an email with every week. These are the answers to this week's lessons. After they have finished their lessons, tell them to check it or check it yourself. And that way you can just come to me and say, I missed exercise 3. I totally botched exercise 3 and I don't know what I did wrong. I got all the answers wrong and I don't know why. And then we can talk about it in class. But if you get them right, we don't really need to talk about it. Yes, sir.
Oh, friends at the door. Can I answer
Oh,
this?
please do. Yes.
I don't know if they know that my mom's gone.
Okay. No, go right ahead. We'll wait for you. Actually, we won't wait for him because he did Latin with me last year and he knows this already. So what is this is a very simple question. I know. What is a noun? A person, place, thing, or exactly. So instead of the action words. So we have learned that verbs in Latin come in groups, and we call the groups conjugations. That is a group of verbs that all uses the same endings. And we also learned, just as a review, that we go to the second principal part, the infinitive, and we look at the ending. And if the ending ends in ARE, it is first conjugation. And when we take a verb through all its endings, amo, amos, amat, amamus, amatus, amat, we call it conjugating the verb, right? Nouns come in groups called declensions. That's a noun group. And when we take a noun through all of its endings, we call it declining. So you conjugate verbs, you decline nouns by getting them all their endings. Now, you might ask, well, I understand why verbs would have endings because different people do it. I do it, we do it, they do it. Why would nouns have different endings? Because in English, nouns do. Well, nouns only have 2 endings, right? Dog, dogs. We have an ending, meaning there's only one of them, and we have an ending, meaning there's more than one. That's really the only time we change endings. Latin changes the endings depending on what the noun is doing in the sentence. Is it a subject? Is it a direct? I know. So, in English, the dog bit the boy. John's like, I know this example. You see, now you know my dirty secrets. I just use the same examples every single year. I don't think of anything new. And the boy, because this is a funny one, the boy bit the dog. It's just funny. Now, the reason in English we know who bit who and who's crying or yelping, as the case may be, is because in English, the subject usually comes first, and then the verb, and then who it happened to. So we know that in this case, the dog did the biting, and we know in this case, the boy did the biting, just because of the order the words come in. In Latin, the words may come in any order you want. I know. It kind of makes me want to laugh too. Like, who thought of this system? No. The words can come in any order, but we know who's doing it because of the ending. The ending tells us, is it a subject? Is it a direct object? Is it an indirect object? Object of the preposition? The ending tells us everything. So why don't you turn with me in your book to page 22. And you will see a chart. And it looks like this. I, and I know last year we said a because I was doing ecclesiastical. It's totally fine to say fine. Now I'm going to say I, arum, is, as, is. These are noun endings. And you might suspect that the columns, just like our verbs, mean something, and the rows mean something. The columns do mean something. They mean exactly the same thing that they meant for the verbs. These are all singular, and these are all plural. So, what in the world do these mean? They are the jobs of a noun. And I believe this is all, everything I'm doing here is on that chart. Okay, it's all on that chart. The first case, these are called cases, is the nominative case. The nominative case is the subject of a sentence. If a noun has these endings, it's the subject of the sentence. The next case is called genitive. And it is possessive. It is what we use an apostrophe S for. The dog's food, the food that belongs to the dog. The next one is called dative. And it is what we call in English an indirect object. The boy gave a gift to the girl. What did the boy give?
A gift.
Gift. Who got the gift?
A girl.
A girl. The indirect object is the thing that gets the direct object. Or did you know what an indirect object was already? Kinda.
I can't remember.
Oh, the good news is we're not going to do indirect objects in Latin right away. So that's the idea. So in English, we have two ways of doing it. We can say the boy gave a gift to the girl. She got the gift. Or we just say the boy gave the girl a gift. And even though we changed the order, we know the boy didn't give a girl. The boy gave the girl a gift. We know what got given and who got the gift. That's what an indirect object is. We'll talk more about it. The accusative is the direct object. It's the thing that got bitten, right? Or given. I like the biting though. It sticks in your mind.
Examples like aggressive.
I don't know. Most of the examples are aggressive or involve eating. What's the sentence about eating?
Yeah, it gets
Cookies.
rid of that.
Yeah. And the last,
Eating dogs.
only if I'm really hungry. The last case is called the ablative. Ablative is what we usually call the object of a preposition. So prepositional phrases like to the store, on the table, under the bench, with the dog, on the cookie, like sprinkles on the cookie. I felt motivated to, like I had to come up with a cookie reference now. So anytime we would do a prepositional phrase, this is the object of the preposition. You have to memorize these endings. This is the first. And we usually memorize them in this order, down the singular and down the plural. I, arm, is, as, is. Do you see the little line here over the A? That's important. I told you I would only make you learn the lines if they were important. This one's important. When you write out these endings, this one should have a little line over the A. All right? Now, what does this look like? How do I use it? They did femina there. I'm going to look at a shorter one that you've learned. Cool. Let's just use puella. So if I had the noun puella, actually, can you flip with me back to page 20 where your vocabulary list is? And look about halfway down. Look at P's. You'll find puella. They wrote puella, puellae, and then there's a comma, and it says F.
Was this world the first sequential ones? Most of them are feminine, but then there's a few.
Yes. Let me explain to you why they give you those two words instead of just say puella means girl. Just tell you puella means girl. Do you remember the verbs that I told you? If I look at the infinitive and look at these letters, A-R-E, I know which conjugation it is. If I look at, I'm just going to write our endings up here again. And I would just write and say these over and over this week. If you do it a bunch of times, you will memorize it. A great way to do it is to write it and then get a piece of paper out and write it once, and then cover one, and then write it again, cover two, write it again, cover three. And by that time you get to cover on all of them, you've done it 10 times, and you've written it once without looking at anything. And if you do that over and over, you will have it memorized. The first word in the vocabulary list is this ending right here, the nominative singular. The second one, you might really think, oh, it's the plural. It's not. It's this one. I know they're identical, but they always give you the nominative and the genitive because this one tells you which declension it is. Just like that tells you the conjugation. Every noun with a genitive of AE is first declension. There are 5 declensions. This is first. And they all use these endings. Does that make sense? So that's why they're giving those. And if you look in a Latin dictionary anywhere, they will have the word in the dictionary, and then sometimes they just have a comma and they have this, and they're giving you the genitive ending. And they're telling you, this is a first declension noun. It uses these endings. All the ones they've given you this week, obviously, are first declension. But that's something you have to learn about a noun. Now, I have really good news for you. Almost every noun where the first one ends in A happens to be first declension. So it's not real hard to recognize it. There's some other declensions where you have to memorize the genitive because it's really important. This one, you can kind of assume that it's first declension if you see an A at the end. Now, John, you mentioned something else. Our entry in the vocabulary also has this. This is something else that we don't really do in English. Nouns in Latin have gender. They are all masculine or feminine or neuter. Have you done another language, any of you, so you're familiar? What language did you do?
Spanish.
Spanish, which is basically Latin. Yeah.
I mean, I've done some German.
Some German, French, which is also Latin. German is not Latin.
And then if we're counting Dwarvish.
Dwarvish. Does Dwarvish have gender? I don't know.
I did a little bit of Spanish.
So Spanish. So you're familiar with the idea that a noun might be masculine or feminine or neuter, even though it's a thing. Because for us, if it's not a creature that could actually be a boy or a girl, we just call it an it. This makes perfect sense to us. Although occasionally we do say, when we talk about ships, we call a ship a she, and they usually give ships female names. Also, cities are sometimes referred to as she's. She's a beautiful city. She's a beautiful boat. But we don't say she's a beautiful bookcase. Or he's a lovely picnic table. We don't. It would make our lives so much more interesting if we did, but we choose to be boring. They do not choose to be boring. So all of these words, let's take a look at them. All of these words, except 2, 3, put my glasses on, are feminine.
4.
4. So I'm now streaming this live. I had a party for my in-laws yesterday because it was their 60th anniversary, and I ate 4 pieces of cake. And my brain just doesn't work today. I ate a lot of sugar yesterday. My husband ate 4 pieces too. I just want to make that known. Okay. Let's look at the ones that don't have an M masculine next to it. Let's skip those for a minute, okay? Let's start with the second one. Femina. Femina, feminae means woman. This is obviously going to be feminine. I mean, the word is femina. The word feminine comes from it, and it's a woman. Feminine. Graecia, Graeciae means the country of Greece. It is feminine. Incola, Incolae is a settler.
Wait, no, that one's...
Oh, I'm sorry. It's that cake. It's that cake. I'm really sorry. I'm serious. It's like I just stayed up late, I ate cake, and my stomach was upset. brain is just not working. Okay. Insula. I'm not going to mess up the next one. Insula. Insulae means island. This is, I love this. Insulation. When you insulate your house, you're making like a little island of warmth in the
Is it?
winter.
Nothing worse than
Is
this.
it another word like a peninsula?
Yes, Piney means almost.
Okay.
A peninsula is almost, as all peninsula means, almost an island.
Okay.
Not quite. Almost. Good try.
So is it
Almost.
like right beneath the water level?
No, it's just like in Florida. You know,
Yeah,
if you
it's
just
like
if you just
mostly
if you just
surrounded by
dug
water.
Florida, if you cut
But-
Florida off the rest of the United States, it would be an
Mhm.
island. It's almost
Like
an island.
Hawaii. Hawaii is an island,
Yes.
but Florida is a peninsula because it's most of it is in water, but
Yes.
there's still a
But
part
it's
that's
attached.
connected to the rest of it.
So it can't be a big blob. Just it has to be like a little narrow that you could easily turn into an island.
yes.
It's almost there.
Okay, all right.
Um, It is, okay.
Makes
That's
sense.
another feminine. Patria.
Remember that?
Patriae.
Could you remember that?
Fatherland. Like patriotic. It means you love your country. You love your fatherland. Puella. Puellae, girl. That one's obviously going to be feminine. As the next one. Regina. Reginae. Queen. There was a TV show on that my family liked once upon a time. It's been a good 10 years ago now. And it was like fairy tale land got cursed and they came into the modern world. They were in Maine, but they were all fairy tale characters. They didn't know it. Anyway, the queen, the wicked queen, her name was Regina in the real world queen. So it was a joke. They called her queen, but they didn't remember that she was the evil queen that magicked them all.
Okay.
Well, I just wanted to give you an example of the use of the word Regina. All right. Terra. Terra, terrae means earth or land, like the terrain of an area is. We talked about the terrain of Greece. It's mountainous or it's flat, it's hilly, it's marshy. That's the terrain. And Troia, Troiae is the city Troy. These are all feminine. There are 4 on this list that are masculine though. And by the way, I think there might be one more, but I think these are all the masculine ones in the first declension. All the rest of them are feminine. Every first declension noun you will learn except these are feminine. So it's easy to remember. Let's look at the 4 that aren't and see if we can find any connection between them and figure out why they're all masculine. Agricola, agricolae means farmer. You get the word agriculture from agricola. Incola, incolae is a settler. Poeta, poetae is a poet, obviously. And nauta, nautae is a sailor. Now, farmer, settler, sailor, poet. Any guesses of what these have in common? No. I'm sorry, that was harsh. He knows. Any guesses? All right, John, lay it on him.
They're all men's job.
They're all things that men did in the ancient world. Although there was a famous Greek female poet named Sappho. So, I don't know. But poet, farmer, settler, and not that women don't settle somewhere, but in generally they thought of these as being male jobs, male callings. And so they were masculine nouns. The first rule of Latin is if a noun is naturally a certain gender, they make it that gender. Soldier is masculine. They did not have lady soldiers in Rome. So whenever you see that, queen is feminine, king is masculine. So those are, you don't even have to memorize those. If it's something that just men, like man is masculine, woman is feminine. Boy is masculine, girl is feminine. If it's obvious like that, then you already know the gender. So those four are masculine. All the rest of them are feminine. Now You might say, well, why do we care? And that takes me down to the little word that's at the bottom. They give you an adjective. Pulcher, pulchra, pulchrum. It means beautiful. And I just think this is funny. This is another thing I find funny. They gave you the word pulchritude. Maybe you're not familiar with the word pulchritude. Pulchritude means beauty. But doesn't it sound like an insult? Your pulchritude amazes me. If somebody said that, what do you mean? Come over here and say that to my face. What? I don't like the sound of it. It makes me think of pork. Pulchritude makes me think of pigs and pork. Pulchritude. I think it should mean something else. But it means beauty. Pulchritude. Because pulcher, unfortunately, is an ugly sounding word, in my opinion. But it means beautiful. They gave you 3 forms of it. Like, what is up with that? You will find out, not this week, but you will find out that when we use an adjective with a noun, it always has to have the right gender ending.
Of course it does.
Of course it does. So that we know it goes with that noun and not some other noun. And so there's 3 genders.
Because they could be in any order in the sentence.
Because they could be any other sentence. And poems are even worse. It gets bad enough when they're just writing. But when they try to do poetry and do it in meter, they just move words all around. It's crazy. So since there are 3 genders, adjectives get 3 endings. And you just choose the one that you need in this particular case. That's why there are 3 endings. You will use that later. Right now, we're just learning that pulcher, pulchra, pulchrum means beautiful.
Or pork.
Or pork. Choose to be. It does not have anything. Porcus is the word for pig. That's where pork comes from. In case you were laying awake at night and wanting to know that. They think that on page 21 that it's helpful for you to use the acronym PAIN to remember Poeta Agricola Incola Nauta are the 4 masculine. And if that helps you, go with that. What?
Men are painful.
Men are painful. Okay. I don't think they're going to use that, but you can go ahead and use that. Pain. So Poeta Agricola Incola Nauta are masculine. I have a note. Here are the other ones that are masculine, and you're not going to learn them in this book. Scribe, scriba, pirata, pirate, bibliopola, a bookseller, auriga, a charioteer, and athleta, the athlete. Some of which we modern women might argue with.
Yeah.
Some of which I have no desire to be a charioteer or a pirate, frankly. But bookseller and scribe and athlete seem fine. So use pain if it helps you. Just remember that those 4 are masculine. So on our little chart, I'm going to take this away now. I made this kind of small, but I'm going to use it anyway. We mentioned that the 2 columns are singular and plural, and that the first row is nominative. Nominative case. And that means it's the subject of a sentence. So if I have the word puella, girl, and it's the subject of a sentence, it's going to look like that. And if I want to say more than one girl, girls, and it's the subject of the sentence, it's going to look like that. Those are the only 2 choices for being the subject of a sentence. So take a look at exercise 6 in the middle of page 23. Let's just look at this together. You're gonna do it, but basically I'm gonna do it for you, and then you're gonna do it again at home, and that makes your life so much easier. Actually, can you look up at exercise 5? I'm sorry, same page. Now, I know you don't know what some of the stuff even means, but look at sentence 1. Agricola terram arat. They asked you, Which one of these things could be the subject of the sentence? Remember, the subject has to have one of these endings. There's only one word there that could be your subject. What is it?
Agricola.
Agricola has to be the subject. Look at the next one. Nautai ad terram navigant. Navigant. Which one of those could be your subject?
Sailor.
Yeah, sailor, nautai. Hecuba in obido habitat. What's your own Hecuba? Femina et puella cantant.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Wait, no, it's not. It's Puella, right?
Well,
Wait, or it's one that. No.
There's an indirect
both.
out there too.
No.
see, so look at our endings. It doesn't have the line. So anything that just ends in A has to be a subject. What does et mean?
And. Other.
We could have more than one subject, couldn't we? Femina, the woman, and puella, the girl, they're both your subject. Right?
What is that called? In
Compound subject?
yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
So that's really all they're asking you to do. They're asking you to get used to looking at a group of words in Latin and identifying this has got to be a subject because it's got that ending. Does that make sense? That's what tells you it's a subject. Unlike our dog biting the boy and our boy biting the dog, where we relied on word order to tell us. We're going to rely on our eyes and looking at the ending. Now, another thing we do in English, and this is another job that nominative can do. It's basically a subsidiary related job. We often use the be verb, is or are, to connect two nouns. For example, Helen is a queen, or the boy is a thief. And in this case, this verb really doesn't have any action at all. Nothing really happens. I'm just making a statement about something. And I'm telling you something about our subject, Helen. I'm telling you that she is a queen. Helen and queen are the same person, right? I could switch them around. The queen is Helen. It means the same thing. I also did it with this. The boy, I'm not really saying he did anything. I'm just saying he's the same as a thief. The thief is a boy is a thief. Same thing. We call it, do any of you know what we call that in English, like in English grammar, when we have a noun at the end of the sentence that tells you what the subject is?
Like an adjective.
Yeah, sometimes, so there's two sets of them. Sometimes it's an adjective, like if I said Helen is beautiful, or the boy is silly, that'd be an adjective. When we do it with a noun, we call it a predicate noun or predicate nominative. Predicate nominative. And when we do it, Caden, with an adjective, we just call it a predicate adjective. So you probably remember, it's like, oh, she's making me do English grammar. Yes, I am. Remember that when we have a sentence, if you find the subject part, the subject, the word that's the subject and all the words that go with it are the subject, and everything else is called the predicate. Do you remember this from like some distant grammar lesson? So we have the subject part, and then the verb and everything after it is the predicate. That's why we call it a predicate noun. It's another noun in the predicate. So since the noun and the predicate means the same thing as the subject, it's also nominative. So look at the middle of page 23. Helena est regina. Helen is a queen. Do you see queen and Helen are the same person? So you can use the nominative for both of those. Helena est pulchra. There's our beautiful. Helen is beautiful. So look down at exercise 6. Look at number 2. Puella non est regina. Which of those things is a subject or can be a subject?
One.
Helena. But look at Regina. It also has a nominative ending. And I see a verb in between, est. Oh, Regina is a predicate nominative. Agricola et nauta non feminicent. Did they teach you est already?
No.
Okay, I'm just telling you est means is. So we can basically translate that sentence. Agricola, the farmer, and nauta, the sailor. Sunt means are not, femini, women. So if I wrote that in English, the farmer and the sailor are not women, what would the subjects be? The farmer and the sailor. And I see they've got the A ending. Are not, femini. Plural, predicate nominative. Does that make sense? That's all they're asking you to do in exercise 6. It says, underline the subject and circle the predicate nominatives. In other words, if you find something at the beginning of the sentence, I know I told you they can come in any order, but they're being kind to you here. And it has one of these endings, it's the subject. And if there's another one at the end of the sentence, it's a predicate nominative. They just want you to get used to the idea that these endings pop up in these two cases. The subject, or any word that's telling you again what the subject is. That's what the nominative case is for. Let me see how we're doing. Oh, wonderful. I just want to make sure that I've given you everything that's in here. You don't run into something. At the top of page 22, just to practice this, they just want you to make them plural. If insula means island, and they give you an example above. Nauta, or puella, means girl. Puelli, girls. So if insula means island, how do I say islands? What do I do with it? Yeah, just add the E. Insula is one, insulae is plural. Unlike we, who added S to the end of the word make plural, in first declension they add an E. What you need to work on this week is I, arm, is, us, is. Like I said, if you write it and then cover one and write it again and then cover two and write it again and you do it 10 times through, by that 10th time you're already going to know it pretty good. And then if you go the next day and do this again, by the time you come next week, you're just going to have them all down. Eventually, we need to memorize those cases. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative. But this week, concentrate on the fact that the top row is nominative, and it's your subject. Whenever you see those two endings, your singular subject or your plural subject. On page 24, they're actually going to give you some sentences to read. And despite the fact that they did not, I guess they feel like after you've gone through the chapter, you've picked up on, they actually tell you on page 23, est means is and sunt means are. They give you some sentences to read. Not made up by me, John. Yay. Because my sentences are really pretty lame. But notice, so everybody look at page 24. If you're there, Luke, go ahead and join us on page 24. Some of the, are you on page 24? You are. Your book isn't like mine.
Yeah, so that's one page in.
Oh, okay. So go back to page 23 then. Why are you so special that your pages are different? I feel cheated somehow, like his book is the golden one. Okay. They give you a story. So go back to page 23 where the story is, or the sentences. But they know that you don't know all of the words. And so there's a glossary underneath. Do you see it gives you what things mean? So if you run into something, Troia est patria, you actually have learned Troia and patria. But if you can't figure out what in Asia means, in Asia, you can look down below and it tells you, oh, it actually doesn't tell you that one. I guess they figure that you will know that in Asia means in Asia. But look at, the things that are, no, it's not. The things that are italics. Prismus, Rex, Prismus, Regnat. And then you look down below and Prismus, it says means Priam, the king of Troy. They tell you below that Troy was a city in Asia Minor. Maybe some of you know the story. In what is today Turkey. The Greeks and the Trojans fought a war at Troy for 10 years. We know this war as the Trojan War. You will learn more about this war and its aftermath as you study the readings and the culture corner sections of the book. Or you may be reading an epic poem right now that's all about the fallout of the Trojan War. You might be doing that.
Take that book.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
It's just not exciting. The dragon and the
Well,
dragon.
let's hold on to it.
Yeah,
I know
right,
you're
right. Back
waxing
to that.
wonderful about that. Here's what I want you to go home and do. First of all, are any of you using the workbook, the online? Are you doing that in the workbook online? Nobody's using the workbook. Okay. Later this year, I might really kind of urge you to do it. I might even print out sometimes for you because it will give you extra practice. That's the only downside in not using the workbook. But as long as you can memorize the information, and like when I put the verbs on the board today and you all knew what they meant, then we're good. But if we get to the point where I feel like you just need to do a few extra exercises, they don't give you a lot of extra practice. But I want you to, the reason I bring up the workbook is because the workbook divides it up into days for you. Obviously, we're not going to be doing exercise 1 because it's divide them into syllables. And I told you we're not doing that. But what I would do with your week is I would every day go over your new words and work on memorizing them. And every day I would go over these endings and work on memorizing them. And then I would read through one section. For example, it says section 12, page 21, first declension nouns. Read that to yourself. I just told you pretty much everything that's on that page, but it will remind you again, okay? So then do exercise 2, which says find the stem. And they tell you exactly how to find the stem in the paragraph above. And then the next day, do your endings, do your vocabulary, and read the rest of page 21 and do exercise 3. And actually we got 5 exercises you're doing, so that won't work because you only have 4 days unless you do one today. But just take a section or 2, read the text, do the exercises. You could, this is an honor system
You don't
thing.
do the first one, so
What?
you don't do the first.
You don't do the first one, so it'd be 5. So if you did some today, after like this afternoon, you would have 5 days worth. If this is your Latin for today and you don't do any more Latin today, then you'd have to do the 5 exercises in 4 days. Actually, and then there's the reading, the chapter reading too. So you'll want to, see, I'm sorry, forgive me. First of all, the cake. Second of all, I've never gone through this book with a group before. I like the book, but it's going to take me time to work up to it. So you probably want to, the first day you sit down, do the first 2 or 3 exercises so that you don't run out of time and have to cram it all in at the end. You will be set, your parents will have the answer key. All right. So I don't know if you want to just wait until you get the whole week done and then check it all, or if you just want to ask to see it and just do an honor system thing and just check the section you did. I can't stop you from just looking at the answers and writing it down, but you won't learn anything. And that kind of defeats the whole purpose of being here. So I just trust that you'll actually try to do it. But that way you'll know immediately, I did all of those wrong. What did I do wrong? And then you will look back and you will find what you did wrong, or you will email or call me and say, I did them all wrong and I don't know why. And I will tell you exactly why. And then you'll know right away. You won't have to wait a week till we come together. And then I can talk about the material and we can practice things in class. rather than go over the sections of the exercises. Okay, are we good? So after I get home this afternoon, I'm just gonna hit send. I got the email already written and already scanned and attached, and I will send it to your parents. So after you start working on it, ask them. But yeah, just divide it up as you see fit. I suppose doing exercises 2, 3, and 4 would be good on the first day, and then 5, and then 6, and then the chapter reading. The derivative detective is sort of a fun extra thing there at the bottom of page 24 or 23, depending on who you are. A derivative is a word in one language that comes from another language. More than 60% of English words are Latin derivatives. Over half the words that will come out of your mouth today come from Latin. The Latin word femina gives us the English word feminine, for example, which means like a woman. So they have a list of Latin words, and they ask you to think of English words ending in "-ine" that mean like something. And the fact that they give you "-ine" kind of tells you. Bos bovis means cow. Bovine means like a cow. Maybe you knew this, maybe not. But if I say we get the word canine from canis, do you know what a canine is? What is canine?
Dog.
Like a dog. Canis means dog.
Or their teeth.
It does mean, and I wonder what the connection is, because dogs have, but other animals have big pointy teeth too. Lions have big, why am I doing this every time? I don't know. I like to act things out and then I realize what I'm doing. It makes no sense to anyone outside my brain. I don't know. It must be related. I don't know, because dogs do have that very pronounced canine. So equus, equine. Do you know what equine means? If you enjoy equine pursuits, what do you enjoy doing?
Is it like outside or like?
You will do this outside. It means a horse. Equine means having to do with
Right.
horses,
Okay.
which is feline,
Cat.
like a cat. So felis means cat. I already told you what this means earlier. Porcine. If you are porcine,
Pig.
like a pig. Piscine. At the top of the next page. Piscine. Having to do with fish. This means fish. Aquiline. For some reason, people are always described as having aquiline noses. Romans always, and his broad aquiline nose. Like, it means like an eagle. Who wants a nose like an eagle beak? I don't think that's a compliment. Aquiline nose. Does it mean it's enormous? I don't know.
It's curved.
Maybe curved, because sometimes people have a high bridge on their. I just need to Google it. Aquiline nose. What are you talking about when you say this in books? I don't understand. Aquiline means like an eagle.
Okay.
They say, how many more can you come up with on your own? If you want to pursue that, you go with that. And then our let's talk. If you have enjoyed or you're trying to learn to say anything to amaze your friends and family at home by speaking Latin to them, this is what we're doing. I'm not going to use these in class. If we met every day, I would probably practice these. Gratias tibia go is a handy one. Thank you.
Sounds like gracias.
It does, because Spanish is Latin and French is Latin. Italian, Romanian, there's one more. There's 5 of them. French, Spanish, Romanian, Italian. It's the cake. The last one's just gone. 5 European languages that are all basically what Latin turned into. French.
You already said that.
Oh, did I say? No, but that wasn't one of the 5.
Yeah, it was.
French, Spanish, Italian, Romanian.
French was the
No,
first
what
one
was
you
the first
said.
one?
Cake.
It's the cake. All right, so you can learn those. We used to laugh that they had no easy way, when I was in high school taking Latin, that they had no way to say yes, but seekest, or minime. Seekest, it means literally, it is so. Yes, minime means less than that, lesser, but it means you can use that for no. So if you want to start answering people at home, seekest or minime. Or you can say gratias tibi ago when someone passes you a dish at dinner. And just make them all happy with your Latin skills. If you want to. You don't have to. You can go over that at your leisure if you want to. So when we come back, we are going to press on to the next chapter. Next week, chapter 5. And we are going to learn more first declension, but we're going to concentrate on direct objects. Okay, so if you're not totally up on your direct objects, no worries. We will get that. We'll talk about it, the English grammar concept of a direct object, but we'll get to use another case. But no new endings next week, right? So if you work really hard and learn them well this week, you won't have a whole new set of endings to learn next week, which I hope is motivation. Other than that, read through. Ask your parents for the email with the key. And when you correct yourself, if seriously, if there's something that you just get wrong and you're not sure why, you are always free to contact me. But if you don't want to and you just want to wait, put a little star by it. Get a marker, put a check mark by it. Write a note to yourself. Ask Mrs. Ferguson, because I want to know if there's anything that they have not explained well and I haven't explained well, and I can explain it a different way. Okay? Other than that, if you're staying for the next class, you can go on in. If not, have a great week, and I will see you next time.
I'm sitting there in 3 days of work.